Everybody, bore da pawb. This is your assembly for Wednesday the 3rd of March. And I want to start your assembly by introducing you to my pet, Roxy. Now, Roxy is our pet dog, obviously, and we've had her for nearly 1 year now, and she is a lovely pet to have. She is very loyal, which means she's very devoted to us. She's a really good companion, which means that she loves spending time with us and going for walks with us and cuddling into us and spending lots of time with us. And she's also a really good guardian, which means that she protects us and looks after us too. And I've got a story about a very famous prince, a very famous Welsh prince called Prince Llewellyn, who also had a brilliant pet dog, just like Roxy. He was a really good, faithful companion. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the story of Beddgelert. Now I thought, as it's Welsh week, it's St Helens this week, it's only right that we have a famous Welsh legend. And this is also a really good story because it teaches us a very good lesson, which we'll have a little talk about at the end too. So this is the story of Beddgelert. Many years ago, in a castle on the remote mountains of Eryri in Gwynedd, there lived a highly respected prince called Llewellyn. He loved to go hunting with his favourite dog, Beddgelert. He was an excellent hunting dog, as well as a faithful and wise friend. The hound was given to Llewellyn as a gift from the King of England. This was a huge privilege. Beddgelert was always with Llewellyn and rarely left his side. In every hunt, Beddgelert was the pack leader and showed bravery with no bounds. Prince Llewellyn had a lovable baby son whom he thought the world of. He looked forward to the day when his son was old enough to go hunting with him across the mountains and dark forests, looking for wolves. One day, Llewellyn and his men were preparing to go hunting. It was a wet and foggy day, but a roaring fire warmed the baby's bedroom. The beautiful baby slept peacefully in his crib. Llewellyn decided to leave Beddgelert, his faithful and wise friend, home in the castle to look after his baby. While the baby was sleeping, Beddgelert heard footsteps in the bedroom. He raised his head and was shocked to see a hungry wolf aiming for the baby. Instantly, he scrambled to his feet so that he could protect the baby. The wolf and Beddgelert growled at each other and showed their teeth. Suddenly, they both started fighting with all their strength. The wolf was vicious and far stronger than Beddgelert. He held Beddgelert by his teeth and threw him around the room like a piece of cloth. Beddgelert, however, attempted to use all his strength. He was determined to be a faithful dog and to protect the baby. When it was dark, Llewellyn returned to the castle. He was exhausted and he could smell the tasty feast being prepared for him in the kitchen. He made his way directly to the bedroom to see his baby and to relax by the fireside. But when he opened the door, he was shocked to see the mess in front of him. The furniture was upturned, tapestries which once hung on the walls were ripped on the floor, and the crib was on its side on the floor. The luxurious blanket, which once covered the baby, was now strewn on the floor and covered in blood. He stood there in shock and disbelief. He felt Beddgelert's wet nose nudging his hand and trying to greet him. He looked down and saw Beddgelert's gentle eyes staring back at him and a wagging tail expecting a welcome. He noticed the blood over his paws and mouth. Llewellyn presumed that Beddgelert was responsible for this. Full of grief and anger, he took out his dagger. He stabbed Beddgelert with all his strength. As the hound fell to the ground, the prince heard the whimpering cries of a baby coming from behind the crib. He moved the crib to one side and saw his baby son lying on the floor unhurt. By his side lay the body of a blooded wolf. Instantly, Llewellyn realised that Beddgelert had killed the wolf as it tried to attack the baby. Legend has it that Llewellyn never spoke again because of a broken heart. Full of grief for his dog, he sadly buried him by the river outside the castle walls. The grave, which is a huge stone with Gelert's name engraved in it is still there today and can be found in a small village called Beddgelert, which means Gelert's grave, in northwest Wales. Now, how do we think Prince Llewellyn felt when he realised that actually his baby son was still alive and that Gelert had killed the wolf and had protected him from the wolf? I bet he felt really sad that he had acted when he was angry and he hadn't waited to find out what actually had happened. I bet he was feeling quite relieved that his son was still alive too, but very sad that now his precious, lovely pet dog, Gelert, wasn't alive anymore. I've got another little story for you, and a story that's happened more recently, because that legend happened about 800 years ago. And this story is about, happened in a school in Swansea, not our school, it happened in a school in Swansea, and a teacher called Mr. Smith had walked into his classroom and found a little boy that was in his class called Barney, and the floor was covered in spilt paint. And Mr. Smith was so cross. He shouted at Barney and he said, "You better clean it up." And he even said that his parents would have to pay for all the paint that he'd wasted. But actually, when after Mr. Smith had actually found out what had happened, it turned out that Barney hadn't spilt the paint, and he was actually trying to help and was trying to clear it up. So Mr. Smith felt very, very, very bad that he had shouted, that he'd acted in anger, and that he'd said all those things to Barney and not found out what had actually happened. He'd thought before he'd acted. So really important that we think before we act, even when we're angry. So what can we learn from these stories? Well, we can learn not to act in anger, think before blaming someone, and think before we act. So, like Prince Llewellyn did, you have to think, even if you're in anger, even if you're really angry with somebody, you think they've done something, they might not have done it. So you need to be really careful. You need to think before you act, before you hurt somebody or before you hurt somebody's feelings. So, it's okay to be angry, because we all feel angry from time to time, and that's absolutely fine, but it's what we do about it that counts. So when I get angry, I try to do these things. I try to count backwards from 10, or I take 5 deep breaths, or if I'm really cross with somebody or something, I'll move away from the situation to do something different and to calm myself down, and then I'll go back later when I'm cool and I'm not angry anymore, so I don't say something that I'll regret later or do something that I'll regret later. So it's something that we can all learn from. So that was our story for today. We hope you enjoyed it. We're going to finish our assembly, as we always do, by saying our school prayer. So dwy'd gyda gilydd llygad ag ai, or you may pray in whichever way you wish. And we'll say our school prayer after 3. 1, 2, 3. This is our school. Let peace dwell here. Let the rooms be full of contentment. Let love abide here, love for one another and love for life itself. Let our school be a lovely place where all of us are caring to each other, to work our best and show our smiling face. Staff and children helping one another today and always. Have a lovely day, boys and girls, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.